One of the most common mistakes people make to get ahead is believe they need more money. The truth is, you don't need more money, you need more discipline. I used to think that I didn't make enough as well. I'd go from job to job, place to place, looking for a higher paycheck, when in all reality, I needed more discipline with my money. I needed to stop spending it on things that didn't really matter in life, like small highs and experiences that weren't worth my time or the money. At the same time, I'd also find things that I'd fall off of, like the habits that I tried to kick, but eventually just fell straight back into. Going to the gym, sometimes I would go, and then I'd get the feeling of not wanting to, and motivation would put me in the mindset of, oh, I can do this. I'd do it for a day or two, and then I'd fall off. Discipline is what built me to go consistently and actually put on gains. Same with saving money. If you are motivated to save money, sure, you might keep a couple of $20 bills or a couple $100 sitting back for maybe a better time later, but eventually you end up leaning on that money. You end up seeing something that you want and just throwing it right at that. You have to do something different to change this habit. You have to quit it. I'd start strong, and then a week later, I was right back where I started too. I did the same thing over and over repetitively, not finding the real things that I needed to actually take care of, like investing. I didn't realize it at the time, but I wasn't lacking money. I was lacking discipline. Once I stopped relying on the motivation factor in my emotion and started focusing on discipline, that's when things actually started to change for the better. I started going to the gym even when I didn't feel like it, stopped doing old habits like smoking and keeping on my nicotine addictions, and I started being consistent in another way with my money and time. And if you want to build something like your money over that, discipline matters much more than motivation. The gym taught me discipline in ways that I never would have thought of until now. If I would have skipped out on a certain workout, I would have known that muscle group wouldn't have gotten worked, and I would have felt bad about myself on it later. Quitting weed taught me discipline in a way that if I just stopped smoking, then I wouldn't feel so crappy all the time. I'd be able to eat. I'd have so many different attitudes towards the things that I felt like were a waste of what my resilience were. We're just building that up. And even if it is just $20 a week that you're building up, that eventually will turn into something so much more later on. And now that I'm applying same disciplines to my finances too, that's whenever I start to see real things happening. Showing up consistently is what actually builds something. And not only just building something of your character, but it builds a habit of your mind. You start to get used to these things. If you don't normally drink water like I used to in the past, I'd always sit for a soda every time I sat down at a place out to eat, or even just going out real quick to grab fast food. I thought that a Coke Zero would settle me and actually make me feel better. Sure, it tastes great, but not really the best thing for you. When I started realizing that having a little bit of water not only helped my digestion with all the food that I was eating, but it also helped my mind and cleared my complete system out. I didn't have to worry about being dehydrated as often either. And not only did that build discipline for me to continuously get water every time I went out or just take care of the things I needed to, it built a habit inside of my brain that it was a normal to me. You might not think of it now if you maybe read a book every single night. That first night's going to seem rough because you're thinking, man, when am I going to get through with this? Or can I just go to bed? But when you start doing it every night, it becomes a habit thing where you're just constantly doing it, not even giving it a second thought. And that's what really builds your character. It really helps if you think of it like this. Every time you stay consistent, you're stacking small wins over and over. And over time, those small wins turn into real money or just a real victory over the things and goals that you're trying to reach. So, discipline doesn't just change your habits, it changes your financial future. Whether that be the investments that you make consistently over time to make a real profit gain, or even just the output that you have at your workplace that eventually gets you a net raise so you're already making more income off of that. But that also teaches you another valuable lesson of discipline. Don't live beyond your means And try your best not to make a financial upgrade just because you got a small raise at your workplace. If you stay below your means, the money that you keep sustains itself and maintains a way higher number than you could possibly make from before. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of someone who's done everything perfectly, too. I've messed up countless times. I still mess up all the time. I get raises and I think that I need to go out and try to buy a new car. I mean, recently I even went out looking for a new car at a dealership and I nearly spent 10,000 more dollars than their even listed price just because I got approved and it was something that I enjoyed. I decided to deny it because my financial situation does not rely on how I feel or how other people's approval is. It's based off of what I'm capable of providing and what I'm capable of having. I'm not going to sit around and try to prove that to anyone else except for myself. I know what I'm worth and I know what I'm capable of. So I sat back, thought about it real good, slept on it, and decided that it's not for my best of interest right now. Now, it's definitely a goal for me to get that C6 Corvette. I freaking love those cars. A nice 6.2 liter V8 engine of an LS3, you got me set right. I'm looking that way. But that takes time. That's not something that you just go and do just out of a whim. Unless you have the money already set back and you're financially entirely stable and have your interests right and your savings plan, then yeah, go for it. But for me, it's going to take a little bit. And I respect that decision of myself as well as my own discipline that I made the right call and I'm doing the right thing to put me in the place that I need to be in the future. But that also calls for another sense of direction. You don't need to wait until you feel ready or until motivation spikes you into doing something just for the short bit. You need to start and keep showing up until it actually works and you start to see real results. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet. I have ambitions and goals that I plan on keeping and attaining at some point in my life. But knowing that where my goals are, it's going to take time. And I'm building it with real discipline so I actually get there. If you're actually trying to build something long term too, you should stick around and let me know in the comments what your goals and dreams and ambitions are. And discipline really will build your wealth. If you actually keep to it and have a divergent investing plan, then you actually have something that's worthwhile for your future. And if you have investing discipline within that, you're really going to start to see gains fast. Consistency makes you money. Building those income habits actually builds a financial discipline where your savings and investing mindset entirely evolves and changes. Once you start to build a real self control over the things you do, like your investments or even just daily habits like going to the gym or stopping a habit that's not necessarily good for you, you start to realize that one, you either didn't need it or you did need those things. And two, you actually start to build something off of it. You don't just find yourself having something built from the ground up when you don't actually start putting bricks down. That's how I was for the longest time, especially when I was smoking weed, like I talked about in my recent video. There were days where I knew I needed to be productive and get something done, but instead, I'd just buy a joint, sit there, smoke, and push everything off, go to sleep, and do it all again the next day. Eventually got to the point where I needed to do something, but it had been weeks before I had even looked or thought of the idea of actually doing it. And the worst part was, I knew I was wasting my time, but I kept doing it anyway. Or how I'd go to the gym for a week straight, feel great, motivated, and pumped. And then I'd miss one day, and that one day would turn into a week, that week would turn into two, and then eventually made it easier and easier for myself to push things off and set it back or find something else to do or a reason to not go. And that wasn't a motivation problem. That was a discipline problem. That cycle right there is what keeps people stuck. I used to always think that I needed a ton of money to be able to invest, but at the same time, I'd spend money on stuff that didn't matter. If I had a tracker that told me how much money I've wasted, I'm sure it would have tripled, if not quadrupled, the amount I have in my savings account and investing combined right now. But after building a gym discipline, quitting weed, and quitting nicotine, and all the other habits that actually affected my mind and the ways that I took care of my day to day, that's when it clicked. It wasn't my income, it was my discipline. So at some point, I realized in my life that nothing was going to change unless I changed what I did every day. I stopped overthinking all the issues like I need a motivation factor or some YouTube guru to tell me what I need to do, and started thinking I need to become someone who actually shows up no matter what. Build my own discipline and authority over my own actions. And this taught me things on the long haul, too. The same discipline it took to quit my habits and the same discipline I used to go to the gym is the exact same discipline that I use to build my money now. And I'm no perfectionist at this whatsoever either. I mean, there are still plenty of days that I don't feel like doing any of this stuff. But the difference now is I do it anyway. I know it's for the greater benefactor in the future for my own. That's when I had to ask myself, and I'm going to ask you too, these brutally honest questions. How many times have you told yourself you'd start something and you didn't? Or what's something that you know you should be doing that you just choose not to? One thing that I've learned out of all of this is that when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to another, and vice versa. When you say you're not going to go to the gym, you're saying yes to being unhealthy. When you're saying no to not drinking water, you're saying yes to I'm okay with being dehydrated. These are things you have to keep in mind. There's always some other form or some other side to the story of every option and choice that you have. You might as well make the one that is the best for you. And yeah, motivation might get you to where you want to do something or be someone that you wanted to be for maybe once or twice on occasion. But discipline is what really makes it who you are and what you do. Make that your character and do something great with your life. No, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I know I'm not the same person I was before either. I'm building discipline in my habits, my mindset, and my money. And I know that's what's going to get me there over time. And if you're trying to build something for yourself too, whether it's your money, your habits, or your life in general, stick around. Maybe subscribe. I'm documenting myself, the whole process as I figure it out, step by step. No BS, just the way that it is. Because at the end of the day, discipline is what changes everything.